Just waiting for some people. Just waiting for some people. Hey Grace, how are you? I'm glad you've joined. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just going to wait for another person or two to get into the room. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just start. But I see you've left. There's somebody else in the room though. I don't know what your name is, sir, but welcome. Hello, Ray. Hello, Charles Graham. Good to see both of you. Hello, Austin. Glad you're here. Hello, Freeish. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey, there's John Cena. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be on this fine planet of ours. My name is Josh, and I was a pornography addict for 24 years. That's right, I was a pornography addict for 24 years. I was also an alcoholic for 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for almost 11 years. I have been relapse-free the entire time as well. I started making my life or my profession in this industry about 8 years ago. I was an author and a public speaker, but today I am a pornography addiction coach. I am a therapeutic disclosure specialist, and I am also a betrayal trauma coach. If you have any questions about pornography addiction in general, if you have any questions about betrayal trauma or trauma in general, I am absolutely here to answer any questions you may have, to comment on if you need an opinion, or simply to be here as a voice to or a set of ears to listen to your voice. This is a very safe place, so feel free to speak about anything that you want. I will get rid of anybody who says anything stupid. So anyway, feel free to put anything in the comments that you want. I'm going to go ahead at first here, and I'm going to answer the question that we get more times than any. And if you hang out here for even 10 minutes, you'll hear this question again. And that is, how do I begin quitting? How do I begin quitting? And that answer, I think, is true for any addiction, and I think is true for any major change in life. And that is, you have to figure out what your motivation is. Why must you quit pornography? This isn't about going on a diet. This isn't about stopping for a little while. How are you going to quit pornography use? And that answer is that you have to figure out for yourself, why must you quit? What does pornography take away from you? What might you lose forever if you continue with pornography? Maybe you'll lose your current partner. Maybe you won't be able to get a partner moving forward. Maybe you are worried about your health, mental or physical. Maybe you're worried about your job. Whatever it is, it ultimately has to do with your life. Why must you quit? What is porn going to do to wreck your life in a way that you can't fix? And my must for quitting was that I got to a point where I recognized my wife was probably just weeks away from leaving me. And if she left me, she was going to take the kids. And if she took the kids, I would not have a normal relationship with them. And that's not what I wanted. I recognized I got to the point where it was clear if I was going to keep my family together, I was going to have to, number one, quit, and number two, recover, and basically change my mindset, change my life, change my lifestyle. And I did it because my wife was more important than the porn. But had I not done it, I'd probably be sitting with you here today as a single guy. Maybe I wouldn't have even been sitting here with you today. I don't know. But anyway, hey, Oth, good to see you. Glad you're here. So ultimately, yeah, you have to figure out what it is that is your motivation. I'd also ask, while you're here, please click up the likes, tap up the likes, whatever you want to call it. Just hit your screen a few times. Early on, this helps the algorithm. This helps people who this gets this in front of people. So please click on it. Please, please, please. And if you have any comments, you have any questions, go ahead and put them in here. I have been a pornography addiction coach for 5 years, betrayal trauma coach for 5 years. I'm also a therapeutic disclosure specialist. I was a porn addict 24 years. I've been clean about 11 years now. So I can answer just about any question or give any comment give feedback to any comment you have. Jordan started off saying, just got done watching some. I'm addicted to it as my vape. Well, the first step is actually admitting that you're addicted to it. So, that's a good thing. But now the question is, what are you going to do about it? Now that you know you're addicted. And in being addicted, what that means is that you go to pornography, you go to your vape to help solve your problems. It is causing brain damage in you. Addiction is a brain disease. So now that you recognize that you have this brain disease of addiction, what are you going to do about it? Figure that out. Just stumbled across this. Well, I'm glad you did, Oth. I'm glad you did. Hey, Betty Rage, thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate it. Ooh, new picture with new hair. I like that. Kara May, hi. What would you consider watching versus having an addiction? Well, this is a very individual thing. This is a very, very individual thing. I have worked with clients who look twice a week who are absolutely addicts, and I've had clients who look 5 times a week who aren't addicts. It really has to do with what it does to your life, how it affects your life, how it affects your brain. What I would suggest you do, Kara, is that you go to the front page of my profile and you'll see how everybody has those 3 pinned videos at the top. One of them is called The 11 Symptoms of Porn Addiction. And I urge you to, hey, Jordan, thank you for one of those. Appreciate that. Appreciate any gifts y'all want to give me. Check out that video that says the 11 symptoms of porn addiction, and you will be able to count for yourself. Hey, look at those bracelets. Little small for my wrist, but thank you so much, Jordan. I appreciate the gifts. Every little bit helps me keep doing this because, we're still in the early days of this. Over 100, man. 99 team bracelets. Thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, ultimately watch that video, count along with the symptoms, and at the end you'll have a score and you can determine whether you have an addiction or whether you are just a recreational viewer. I can tell you, if you are somebody who watches more in between relationships, if you're somebody who only watches when you get really horny, I guess would be the term, that probably isn't an addiction. Most people who are addicts aren't that interested in watching. You don't care about the sexuality of the whole thing. Just trying to make sure I don't miss any comments here, and please share your comments. Jordan says, I'm not sure. Well, do you want to quit? Do you want to stop vaping? Do you want to stop using pornography? Do you want to develop proper problem-solving skills? That's what you have to figure out. That's what you have to ask yourself. People are quiet today. Again, thank you for all the bracelets. I appreciate that very much. Allow me to reintroduce myself to the people who are here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much. Please keep tapping up those likes. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was an alcoholic for 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for almost 11 years, relapse-free the entire time. I now am a full-time pornography addiction coach and a full-time betrayal trauma coach. I'm also a therapeutic disclosure specialist. I've written 4 books about this stuff. I am happy to answer any questions you may have about this stuff. And if you are in need of some one-on-one help, I probably meet about 90% of my clients through TikTok. They see a video or they come to one of these lives. If you're interested in getting help front page of my profile in the bio under the links, you will find a Calendly link. Just follow that. Jordan says, I want to, and I'll have moments where I can stop for about a week. Then I'll be alone and bored out of my mind. You should never be bored out of your mind, Jordan. There's too much to do in this world. Ride a bike. Go for a walk. Watch a movie. Call your grandma. Learn to fold an origami swan. Take up the trumpet. Mow the lawn. There's a million things to do in this world, Jordan. You should never be bored. Most people who I have worked with in the 5 years that I've been a coach, when they say they're bored, they fully want to use pornography. They fully know they're going to use pornography. But what happens is that they use this excuse of boredom sort of as a way to take the responsibility of using porn away. You don't want to just sit there and go, I want to use porn, and then you look it up. You can say you're bored. Well, I'm bored. I got nothing to do. There's nothing. I would rather do anything but look at porn. There's nothing to do. And then all of a sudden, there you are. It takes the responsibility off your shoulders because there's no other option of anything to do, right? That's what the pornography does. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. Hey, Kara, you got 5 out of 11. Well, to me, that says that you are, you're not the worst of the worst, but there definitely is a problem there. There definitely is a problem there. If I can help you in any way, please let me know. I see many female clients just as I see male clients. And frankly, except for dealing with erectile dysfunction issues, helping women with pornography addiction is exactly the same as helping men. No judgment, no shaming, nothing like that. So if I can help you in any way, Kara, please let me know. Jordan says you're right. Well, I'm glad you believe that. I'm glad, and I hope that starts to change your attitude. Thank you for moderating, Oth. I appreciate that. What's the best way to stop choosing porn when you are bored? It is to understand you're going to be bored again. You're going to have urges again. You're going to have triggers again. But right now, you're not having them, hopefully. Write down what you can do instead. Write down, if it's nighttime, here's what I'll do. If it's daytime, here's what I'll do. If I'm not at home, here's what I'll do. Be prepared to do something else. You can't be bored if you have a list of 10 activities you can go do. Now, if you ignore them all and use the porn, that just shows that you want to use the porn and you're not going to be stopped using the porn. But I would say the quickest in the moment thing that you can do if you're getting an urge, if you're getting a trigger, and you know you're going to use is to go be around people. 99.9% of us will not look at porn if we're around other people. 99.9% of us will not start to self-pleasure if we're around other people. So go find somebody to be around. That's the best way to stop using porn in the moment. In the moment. Ultimately, it doesn't deal with why you became a porn addict. It doesn't deal with the, process of how you recover, but it will probably stop you in the moment. Good question, Johnny. Thank you. Appreciate that. Making sure I'm not missing anybody. Thank you so many of you for joining. If you're not following me, please do. You will get my videos. You will be informed of my lives, at least as long as TikTok exists. Thank you for following me, Iophian. Sounds like a drug. Boredom is definitely the biggest contributor for me. Again, that's not being prepared. That's not being ready to do something else. Are you really bored, or do you just not want to admit to yourself you want to use porn? This is much like people who say, I'm not planning to use porn. I was just scrolling social media and it happened. Well, if you know every time you scroll social media, you're going to see content that triggers you, I would suggest that you claim in your head you're just using social media. You claim in your head that you're bored. This is the ticket that allows you to not feel guilt, to not feel shame, to get into the pornography without having to say, I want to go look at porn. Because it just sort of happened. I was just looking at this other stuff, or I was just bored and here's where I ended up. You've got to own what you do. You've got to own your behaviors. Just making sure I'm not missing anybody. Johnny asks, so just keep using distractions until you don't feel the need to choose that option anymore? Well, no, Johnny, this is to stop you in the moment. There are a lot of different techniques to stop. Ultimately, if you're an addict, what we have to do, and most of my work as a coach, is to help you figure out why you became an addict. Why do you depend on this stuff in a way that 80 to 85% of other people don't? What happened? Why is this your coping mechanism? Why is this your problem-solving technique? Why do you need this to chill out, to calm down, to, de-stress, to get rid of that anxiety? Why do all these things happen? Well, the answer is something happened to you when you were young that turned you on to pornography, that made you realize it would help you cope with life. That's what we have to talk about mainly, is why did you develop this as a coping tool? And when you figure that out, it gets a lot easier to not use. It gets a lot easier to not use. And I will get to everybody's comments, I promise. I fall behind very easily. Lassoing Western. I was doing good for about 2 weeks, but then I got rejected, and I'm using it as an excuse. You know that at least. You know that at least. So stop using it as an excuse. It's time to get the discipline. It's time to get the willpower. I'm sorry you got rejected. It's something we all experience in life. But just remember one thing. You only need to get one relationship right in your life. Just one. The rest will all be rejects or failures, or just not meshing correctly, or bad timing. You only have to get one correct relationship in your life. How does a successful relationship end? One of you dies at the end. Jordan asks, would you consider genes as a factor? Childhood, surroundings, things that weren't in our control? Well, your surroundings aren't actually your genes. I actually think that, and there is some scientific data to support me here, I believe that it's 1/3 DNA. I believe that it's 1/3 your surroundings and what you're exposed to growing up, and it's 1/3 bad decision making. That's ultimately what I believe it is, and we go through all of it. We go through all of it in my coaching. It is a little bit on you. The moment that you recognize you're an addict and you do nothing about it, yeah, it's on your shoulders, dude. Absolutely, it's on your shoulders. If you know you're an addict and you're not doing anything about it. Because while you're not doing anything about it, you're causing more brain damage. While you're not doing anything about it, you're keeping yourself further away from the kind of mental and physical health that you deserve. Homie Kenobi, still love that name. You ask, let me just make sure I didn't miss anybody. Nope. I find when I'm very busy, I don't even think about it. Don't get any urges. Beautifully said. Beautifully, beautifully said. And you're 3.5 days clean. Congratulations. When you stay busy, you don't use. That's why I say, make that list of 10 things you can do instead of using. Keep yourself busy. Do something else. Our urges and our triggers live in the front of our brain. Back in the amygdala area, that's where the addiction lives. But our temporary thought processes are all up front. Frontal lobe, temporal lobe, whatever you call it. That's your urge. That's your trigger. That's what you need to keep distracted in the moment. That's what you need to worry about right now. You fix this over time. This is the now. Have other activities ready to take your focus and concentration away from those urges. Keeping going. Hey, Deezy, I have noticed my connection is so much better with my wife since I have stopped viewing porn. And I got to tell you, mine is too with my wife. You know, for the first 10 and a half years of my marriage, I was a porn addict. And while we did have a good connection, it has improved. It has improved greatly. And I'm not talking just about in the bedroom. I'm talking about emotionally. I'm talking about intellectually. I'm talking about spiritually. It all just gets so much better. So much better. Thank you for following me, Lasso and Western. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Always can use a new follower. Epigenetics is very real. Environmental factors literally alter our DNA. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I wish that there was more study on this in the field of addiction. But yeah, you're 100% correct. Where are we here? Sorry, I get just a lot of stuff in front of me. Dale says, bro, it's mad hard to stop. I know. I was an addict for 24 years. I know how tough it is to stop. When that is your sole coping mechanism, when that is the way that you escape your demons of the past, when that's the way that you handle your trauma, your anxiety, your stress, of course it's difficult to stop because it's your go-to method of dealing with, all that turmoil inside of you. You said, I just pass all my classes for college and still keep not doing it. Good for you, man. Good for you. And congratulations on passing all of your classes. At the college level, that's not always easy. So good for you, Dale. DJ Francis, thank you for following me. Glad you're here. Jordan says, I had stopped for months, then dated this girl who was very active. We broke up and I relapsed. Do you think that's because of the emotional turmoil of the relationship breaking up? Or do you think that ultimately it's just because you miss having somebody do things with you like that? Deezy, thank you for all the lives. I am certainly noticing them. Thank you very much. I'm going to take a brief beverage break. So, if anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer them today. Pornography addiction in general, betrayal trauma in general. I deal with a lot of couples who have issues with pornography. Trust is not there. How to move forward in recovery is not always there. So I do help people with that, with their communication, those kinds of skills. Deezy, thank you for following me. I appreciate it very much. Jordan Kempf says, miss having those actions. I stopped as I wanted to not do it again till marriage, as I am a Christian, but I just got very weak. People have to stop wearing Christianity as a badge. We all want to be good people, even those of us who do not follow religion. We all want to be good people. We all want to be decent people. I have so many people as my clients who are either Christian or Mormon and wear that religion as a badge, as if it makes them, as if it should make them porn proof. And the reality is, I don't care what religion you have. I don't care what color you are, what your politics are, whether you're a man or a woman, your age, where you live in this world. Anybody can be a porn addict. Anybody can be a porn addict. And frankly, I haven't met many people who want to be, no matter what their religious affiliation is. I just got very weak. Why is that? Maybe stress. I'm not entirely sure. It's probably because you don't have other coping methods. You don't know how to deal with stress. You don't know how to deal with anxiety because you've been using this sexual material for so long. And it probably isn't even about the sexual material anymore. I mentioned earlier that there are people who are addicts who will spend 20, 30 minutes looking for that perfect piece to finish with. And then you talk to them 10 minutes later and they don't know what they finished with. Think about, why is it you're using? Is it really to see another set of breasts? Is it really to see more genitals or more people having intercourse? What are you going to see you haven't seen before? How many hundreds, or more likely thousands, or perhaps even more likely tens of thousands of breasts have you seen in your life? How many tens of thousands of asses have you seen in your life? What's really different? What's really going to be special about the next one? For the addict, it doesn't have to do with body parts. It doesn't have to do with naked people doing naked things. I know that can absolutely seem like it, especially to a partner, but this is about being the only way that they know how to deal with problems. And one of the things I do with people is to learn how to deal with the problems of the world on the world's terms. Most people can handle their stress. Most people can handle their anxiety because they develop the skills over time. You didn't. You found porn. It's a multi-tiered process to get you to stop, Christian or not. Making sure I don't fall behind here. Don't want to miss any comments. I want to thank you all for being here. Please follow me if you're not. If you are looking for any one-on-one sessions with me, next week and a half is very, very slow for me because of the holidays. You literally could have a session with me within the next 24 hours. If you are interested in working with me one-on-one, visit the front page of my profile. Up in the links, click on the links. There's a link that says Calendly, and that'll tell you everything you need to know. Homie says, I see you all live all the time. Good. And if you want to see any of the other lives recently that I've done, they are on my new YouTube page. It is youtube.com/ that @ symbol and then that corn coach. And you will see podcasts I'm on. There is a course there for betrayed partners. And there's also all my many links to live broadcasts I've done. So check out my YouTube page. Great to know I'm not alone. You are not alone, homie. There are millions of addicts and recovering addicts out there. It's just so taboo that we don't talk about it enough. Too much, but I'm over 1 month clean. Fantastic, done with sin. That is awesome. 1 month clean means that your brain has just started to recover. Your neural pathways, and I won't make this super sciencey, but basically the highway of your brain that handles everything in your body is now starting to recover. That's not the only part of recovery. That's the part that I can't do too much to help with because it's physical. Now, I hope you're going to start working on the mental part of things. If you haven't, why did you become a porn addict? How did you become the person you were today? What kind of trauma shaped you? These kinds of conversations are where you have your aha moments and figure out what happened. Once you figure out what happened, it's a lot easier to quit the behavior. Got to head out now. Okay, Auth, you have a great, great day. Hope to talk to you again before Christmas. Really nice seeing you. And I hope everybody appreciates Auth. She is probably the best mod I have had. I can't even say probably. She is the best mod I've had the last year. She keeps this place safe. She has been through this as a betrayed spouse. And she's a friend, and I appreciate having her here so much. We're all lucky to have her, so thank you, Oth. Dylan says, do you believe phones and social media make it even harder to stop addictions? Absolutely, absolutely. Here's the thing. When I became an addict in the late 1980s, the most difficult part of pornography as a 12, 13-year-old was getting access to it. Yeah, I could maybe see boobs on HBO, but I wasn't seeing anything hardcore. I wasn't seeing full nudity. I had to figure out how to get my hands on a magazine. I had to figure out how to get my hands on a videotape. The toughest part of using porn when I was young was access. And now that we give every 10 and 11-year-old a smartphone is the greatest porn computer that has ever been created. And we just give it to 12-year-old Johnny and say, good luck, son. So absolutely, phones and social media have made it harder to stop addictions. If you see the statistics of younger people with pornography over older people, it's disturbing. If you see the statistics about young men, 18 to 25, who are experiencing erection problems compared to when I was 18 to 25, it's disturbing. When you go on college campuses and talk to women about having sexual experiences with unexperienced men and how they've taken all their cues of behavior from pornography. Absolutely, phones and social media have changed the game just like high-speed internet changed the game. And it's not like it was in 1990 where I would get a Playboy and there was a tasteful photo of a nude woman. Now, I always say this on podcasts, if you can spell man, sex, and woman, which are all, vocabulary words that an 8-year-old could spell, you can watch a man having sex with a woman on your phone. So, Rye Guy, thank you for following me. Appreciate that very much. When will I fully recover? It really depends on what kind of help you're getting. I have never seen anybody recover alone. Put that out there, number one. I've never seen anybody recover without getting help and without trying different things. There's rehab, there's therapy, there's coaching like I do. There is plenty of literature about this stuff. There are 12-step groups. There are other groups you can go to. You can watch videos on YouTube. And for most people who recover, it's a mix of those things. And I urge people to try all of them to see what works for them. But I think that ultimately you have to figure out your path, and how long it takes for you to recover is how seriously you take this disease, because porn addiction is a disease. A brain disease changes the chemistry of your brain, and extended pornography use changes that chemistry. So I can't tell you how long it takes for you to fully recover. It depends how seriously and how disciplined you are when it comes to recovery. What's your thoughts on the word gooning? I think it's weird because it looks like the word Goonies, which was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. And I also know the word goon from ice hockey. So when I see the word gooning, I kind of laugh. It's a goofy word. All right, Off. I'm sure you're not here, but, we all love you. Ms. Smoothie Buns. Mr. Smoothie Buns. Sorry, dude. How's it going? It's going well. Haven't done one of these in about a week because I've been so freaking busy, but I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking. Glad you're here. Lassoing West, and I will get to everybody. We'll get to everybody, promise. I feel that I have figured out why I use it, but I just can't stop. Okay, well, if you figured out how you use it, now it's time to figure out how to stop using it. And if you need help, the words aren't coming today. If you need help learning how to stop, you're going to have to seek it out. And if it doesn't work, you'll have to seek out another way. You can stop. You're not a unique snowflake. You're not a unicorn. You can stop. You just either don't have the willpower or deep down, you don't want to stop. Justin says, started at a very young age. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The amount of children, especially, under 10, 11 years old, who are being sexualized with this stuff, even before puberty, is a freaking tragedy. It's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. When I started, I was 12 years old. At that point, the average boy saw porn for the first time at 13. The average girl didn't see porn until she was 15. These days, the average boy sees porn at 10. The average girl sees it at 11. That's one of the ways this thing has changed in the last 25, 30 years. Done with sin, 4 letters and you can see any video you want. It's so sad. Absolutely. This is an old stat, but after Pornhub had to do a big purge a couple years ago, they had to purge like 2/3 of their content, or the credit card companies were going to run away from them. After they purged it, I saw a statistic that said there was still roughly 200 years worth of content on their website. Watching it 24/7, 200 years worth. Imagine that. At that point, if you started watching pornography on that site and you we're talking about crazy in the far future. Or you go backward, we're talking about like when Abraham Lincoln was president. That's how much is on just that one site. And yeah, you can see anything you want. And a lot of stuff you probably don't want to see. Omar asked, does getting a wife help? If you're an addict, no. Because you're not using because you don't have a girlfriend or a wife. You're using, if you're an addict, for other reasons that really have nothing to do with getting off. It has to do with coping with life. So yeah, and don't put a woman through that, and women, don't put a man through that unless you're going to be very honest with them up front. And I'll tell you, if you happen to be a man or a woman and you don't want a partner who is using pornography, and when you're dating, you're not sure when to ask, recognize that they are probably going to tell you they don't use if you come out and ask directly. So, ladies, gentlemen, if you want to know if the person that you are dating uses porn, what I suggest you do is be a little bit tricky and you lean in and say, hey, what kind of porn do you like? Because that says, hey, I watch porn. Hey, I'm okay with porn. And then if they start saying, oh, I like this and I like this and I like this, then you know they use porn. Make sure you find out if your partner uses porn, if it at the beginning of the relationship, and make sure they recognize you will not accept them lying about it. Because when I work with my betrayal trauma clients, 90 to 95% of which are women, when I work with them, it's not, and this is 100% of the time, not 95, not 99, 100% of the time, the girlfriend or the wife says to me, it's not even the porn that's the worst problem, it's the lying. So Omar, if you're thinking of getting a wife and lying about your porn use, bad idea, bad strategy. Do you think it's okay to watch porn in general as long as it's not so consistent? You have to determine that for yourself, Johnny. The vast majority of people out there do not have a problem with pornography. But 15 to 20% still do. Do you want to risk that? It's essentially the odds of becoming a porn addict are worse than the odds of playing Russian roulette. And you don't want to do that either. There are people who can manage it out there. And there are a lot of people who lie to themselves about being able to manage it out there. What is the first step I can take from this addiction? Good question, young OG. Why must you quit? Figure that out. Why must you quit? What will porn take away from you? This isn't like going on a diet. I appreciate everybody who's been, hold on. Excuse me. I appreciate everybody who goes 2 weeks clean, a month clean, 60 days clean. That's awesome. But that is fasting. That is dieting. Think about this in terms of like somebody who is morbidly obese. They don't like cake or candy or chips more than the rest of us. They're dependent on them. It's the same thing with pornography. Just because you don't eat cake for a month doesn't mean you're over your obesity, doesn't mean you're over your food addiction. If you stop eating cake for a month, that doesn't mean on day 31 you're not going to want cake. You still are. What you need to figure out is, why did you get this way? How did you get this way? What happened? And why must you get better? Why must you get better? Maybe you're afraid you'll never be able to be in a relationship if you continue with porn. Maybe you're in a relationship and you're afraid it's going to disappear if you continue to use. Maybe you're using at work and you're worried about losing your job. Maybe you're worried about your mental health, your physical health. Whatever it is, that's your business. But you have to find your reason to quit. What is the must? What will pornography potentially take away if you don't? Done with sin. The first 2 weeks is hell, but after that it's easy. For you, that's true, done with sin, and I'm glad that was the way for you. I've heard 1,000 different coping stories. Everybody is a little bit different. Some people have it worse right up front and it gets easier. Some people it's easy the whole way. Some people it's easy then difficult. Everybody is a little different. Homie Kenobi, do you know what percentage of adults are porn addicts? It really depends upon what study you look at, how exactly they determine addiction. But these days, and I've been doing this now for, I've been studying this, writing about it, speaking about it for 8 years. I've been doing the coaching for 5 years. The numbers keep going up. Most of the statistics I see these days suggest that men are around 15 to 20% addicted, and that women are more like 8 to 15% addicted in the general population. Interesting stat is that, and this isn't addiction, this is just porn use, 90.5% of men who use the internet look at porn at least once a month. 60.2% of women who use the internet look at pornography at least once a month. That's 9 out of 10 men and 3 out of 5 women. So a lot of people are watching this stuff. That's insane. It certainly is. 10 days clean. Good for you, Sticks. It's been hard these 10 days. Well, just let me rearrange myself. I am hoping that you are digging a little deeper and not just don't use porn, because eventually that fails. It always fails. It's good that you haven't done it for 10 days. It proves to you can. It proves to you can go day after day. But you need to go deeper than that. I wish there wasn't a character limit in chat. I didn't realize there was. I think I have literally said something in chats probably 3 times in my life. I very much don't know how this looks from your end. Cooper Gilbert, I can feel myself getting better with it, but I'm still relapsing. Tips on how to stop fully. Look at the relapse itself. And I'm not talking about the part when you are actually relapsing. But recognize, for you to be in front of your device, for you to have looked up a pornographic website, for you to, have your pants around your ankles and be self-pleasuring, that took a hell of a lot of decisions to get there. Once you're there, once you get those chemicals going, it's like you're intoxicated. Once you're relapsing, it's very hard to stop. What you need to recognize, are the red flags prior to the relapse. I call this the prelapse. And what you need to do is have what we call a prelapse autopsy. Go back and look at, go back and look, Cooper, at the last time that you relapsed. Did you know it was going to happen that morning? Did it build up over a few days? What were the voices in your head saying? What were the urges? What happened? Where were the triggers? You need to be able to go back and look at those red flags along the way. Did something traumatic happen and you had to do it? Did you have a bad day at work? You need to be able to analyze the relapse before it becomes the relapse. You will probably see patterns, and then you can change those patterns. Off is back, yay! Yeah, I hope nap time with my dogs goes according to plan. Can you let me know what time it is, Off, please? I have a podcast I'm actually a guest on in a little bit, and I need to record that. 1:13. Okay, good. I still have about 45 minutes. All right, next question from Stephen King, 998. Stephen King actually lives in my state. I've met him a few times. Does ADHD OCD increase the addiction? It makes it more difficult to deal with, but about half of people who are addicts, across the board, doesn't really matter what you're addicted to, about half of people who are addicts have some kind of mental health issue. Myself, I was diagnosed about 25 years ago with bipolar disorder. And I know that it worked in tandem with my addictions. And yeah, it makes it harder because you need tools just to cope with your ADHD or OCD that healthy people don't need. Then on top of that, you have to develop tools to deal with the addiction. So it is much more challenging. And like I said, about half of people who are addicts have some kind of mental health condition. That doesn't mean people with mental health conditions, half of them are addicts. But yeah, absolutely, Stephen King. Abso-freaking-lutely. It increases the addiction. It makes it more difficult to deal with the addiction. But you have to learn. I always tell people, and this is something that I had a therapist tell me 15, 20 years ago, is that you can't use that as a crutch. In your case, ADHD, OCD, if you do have it. I couldn't use bipolar as a crutch because if you stand in front of a judge, they're not going to take that as an excuse. You run somebody down with your car. You can't say, I wasn't paying attention because I have, ADHD. I'm sorry, I ran someone down because I was very depressed or because I was very manic. A judge is just going to shake their head and say, off to jail with you. So unfortunately, Stephen, which I'm guessing is not your real name, unfortunately, you are going to have to develop even more tools if you have this addiction. Jordan asks, what is the criteria for addiction to corn? Well, it's a little bit different for everybody. There are a family of symptoms, and depending on how many symptoms you have, that tends to establish a diagnosis for addiction. Keep in mind, addiction is just a label. Addiction is a label that says you have X amount of symptoms. And if you get that label of addiction, there's a certain, or several ways to go for treatment. But, learning you're an addict, unless you're going to do something about it, isn't going to do too much for you. And if you're interested, Jordan, in learning if you're an addict, the front page of my profile has a couple videos pinned at the top of my page. Just go click up here. And you'll see one that says the 11 symptoms of corn addiction. Listen to that video. It's only, I think, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. I run through all 11 symptoms. You can count along and figure it out yourself. Michael asked, did meditation help you quit? No. I started meditating. It seems easier. I think that my bipolar disorder, or maybe just my personality or the way I'm wired, makes it very difficult for me to meditate. honestly, and I don't want to slam anybody here, I believe a lot of people fake meditation. I believe for a lot of people it's just sitting up and almost falling asleep. I think that far fewer people can meditate than claim to. But I can't. I've got 3 songs playing in my head at the same time. I've got worry about the future. I've got my schedule for the day. I'm thinking about my clients and what I'm going to say. I cannot just sit here and meditate. I don't have the ability. However, for people who do genuinely have the ability, it seems to help. Absolutely. It just didn't help me. Lassoing Western, I'm trying to see the brighter side. The brighter side of being addicted to watching people have intercourse to help deal with your lack of coping skills. When you find the brighter side, let me know. Cooper Gilbert, I think my triggers are when I'm in my room at night, when it's where I sleep. How can I cure it? I'm going to guess you said cure. Well, let's look at this. Why are you in your room at night early? What if you didn't go to your room until your head was about to hit the pillow? That's one thing. Me talking about not liking, meditating. I don't like laying in bed if I can't sleep because a million thoughts go through my head. So I don't go to bed until I am dog tired and know that when my head hits the pillow, I'll be asleep. Don't go to your room early. Or if you have to go to your room, have activities other than using your device. In fact, put your device somewhere else. Put it in the drawer in the kitchen. Put it on a shelf in your living room. Be away from your device. If you can't access pornography, you can't watch pornography. User 1500 and a bunch of other numbers. Jordan, thank you for following me. Appreciate that very much. My husband is sober still, but still not being honest or open with me. What other approaches can we take? Well, if he's not being honest or open with you, how do you know he's sober? Would be my first question. I would think if he's lying about using. Other approaches that you can take. You can come see a coach like me together and talk about this. It's fantastic if he is sober, but he's your partner. He's not being open and honest with you. Forget the pornography. That's just a crap relationship that somebody's not being honest and open with you. I would put boundaries in place to try to encourage it. I would want to know what he's doing to heal. Is he just not watching? Because that's not healing. That's dieting. That's fasting. He became a porn addict for some reasons. If those reasons aren't rectified, if those reasons aren't processed, it's just laying dormant in him. So, my original question was filtered out. Oh, sorry, Lasso. If you can figure out how to write it without whatever the magic word was that got it shut out, please try. Gonna get to everybody's comments. Just want to keep reminding you that I fall behind. I'm gonna get to everybody's comments. While you're listening, please tap up the likes. If I say something that you find interesting, please share this. The more people we can get it in front of, the more education we're putting out there about this stuff. iGuy Vintage, I'm on a 4-day streak, starting to see colors again. You know what? I laugh, but I've heard this before. That people say that, things look different, and that's cool. I think that's awesome, and congrats on the 4-day streak. Keep in mind, you did it yesterday, you did it the day before, you can get through the day. Don't worry about day 5. Don't worry about day 6. Look at day 5 as your 5th day 1. You only have today. All you have to do is get through today. Fur. In January, I will be a year clean of porn and OnlyFans, and I've noticed a lot of difference. I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. If nothing else, you're not spending any money on that stuff, which is good. Great job doing that. That's a great job. A year is, a hill that many people will never be able to climb. So good for you. Yep, watched it. Pretty sure I had 5 to 6 symptoms. Well, then you are likely an addict. Again, question is, where do you go from here, Jordan? Where do you go from here? However, the self-pleasing can be hard to control at times. Certainly understand that. And that's a great question, Oth, about what have you noticed that's been better? The one thing I do want to say, though, is if you're still self-pleasing, and this is important to recognize, this goes back to addiction and brain health. Self-pleasing is just as bad as using pornography. And here's the thing. It's because you're picturing I'm sure you're picturing sexy things in your head when it's happening. You're processing sexy imagery when it's happening. The eyes simply see images. The brain processes them. The tongue simply tastes food. The brain processes it. The nose smelling. The brain is where we have the computer that does the processing. So now that we know that, think about this. Close your eyes. Please, if you've not done this before with me, close your eyes. This is about people who say they don't view pornography in their head or sexual images in their head when they are simply self-pleasuring without porn. So close your eyes. Now, I want you to not picture an elephant. Do not picture an elephant. Are your eyes closed? Are you not picturing an elephant? Do not picture an elephant. Now I want you to not picture that elephant wearing a silly red hat. Do not picture an elephant wearing a silly red hat. Everybody not picturing that? Good. Now open your eyes. Studies show that 90% of you, if you did this, did not picture or 90% of you pictured an elephant wearing a red hat. This is to show you that when you didn't actually see an elephant wearing a red hat. You saw it in your head. You processed that image. You don't need to see an image to process an image. So if you are still masturbating and you are picturing sexual scenarios in your head, it's basically the same as porn. And I hate to tell you that after a year of not using, but if you are self-pleasuring and picturing scenarios in your head, you're not really doing a lot to recover. Thank you so much for validating my feelings. You're welcome, user. You're welcome very much. I'm glad you stumbled upon me today. Doing it through Christ, that's good, Ben, but just keep in mind that praying is not enough. You cannot pray disease away. If you could, nobody would have cancer. If you could pray disease away, children wouldn't die. You need to do more than just pray if you're actually going to get through this. But using religion, using God, using your spirituality as motivation, good for you. Good for you. While saying if you're an atheist, if you're an agnostic, if you don't care about religion or spirituality, you can still heal as well. It really has nothing to do with that when it comes to ultimately succeeding. It has to do with your willpower and your willingness to develop the skills to get through it. Mandy, 2-3. I like your name. It's fun to say. Sending this to my dad. Interesting. That's an interesting father-daughter relationship. Can you tell us, Mandy, how did you discover that your dad used too much porn? How did you discover that he had this problem? And as a daughter, how old were you, and how did you process and come to accept that he had this issue? It's an interesting scenario I'd like to learn more about in case it comes up with any of my clients. in the future. Thank you for doing the moderation thing. I appreciate it very much. Oth, Homie Kenobi, glad you're still here. I actually can't visualize in my head. Can't see my wife's face, my mom, nothing super odd. Some people can't. I was just learning about a condition, I don't remember what it's called, where people cannot picture images in their head. That has to suck for a lot of reasons, but I guess it's a good thing if you are dealing with pornography. Please keep tapping up the likes. Please keep tapping up the likes. Please keep sharing. Appreciate that very much. I'm going to be here probably another 15, 20 minutes. And then I've got to go do a podcast as a guest. Probably somewhere between 500 and 600 of these I've done now, going back 6 years. Actually, going back like 8 years now. Jesus. Abby G, how are you? How to get past withdrawal, especially with insomnia. Do something while you're awake. Do something while you're awake. Exercise. Read. Keep your mind occupied. Go for a walk. Watch movies that you've had on a list that you've never seen before. Play video games as long as it doesn't become an addiction. You know what distracts you. Have those things ready. Have those things ready. My dad would just deny. That's interesting because I don't think my kids did not know I was a user. I don't think until, right before I went to rehab. And I went for alcohol addiction, and, it was becoming clear that the porn was also an issue. But yeah, my kids did not have to live with me aware I was an active addict. I didn't leave anything laying around, anything like that. How do you know how much is too much? Well, that's different for all of us, Farhan. That's different for all of us. What I would suggest that you do is go to the front page of my profile up with the pinned videos. There's a video called The 11 Symptoms of Porn Addiction, and I hope that you will take a look at it, and that will help you explain it. First says, thank you. I know distracting myself by going to the gym or something else helps not please myself. That's fantastic. When you find something that works, that takes your attention away from porn, write that down. You know what works. Write it down. So in those moments when you've got that brain fog and you want to use, you can go use something else. Pagey baby. Hi, welcome. I'm glad you're following me. Current Crush says, going for a walk is so underrated. Absolutely. I love going for walks. It clears my mind. I'm out getting fresh air, getting exercise. There's nothing bad about taking walks at all. Hold on here. Gotta plug in my phone as I'm now down to 10%. What time are we looking at, Oth? If you don't mind me asking. I know we just went an hour because I had to do the CAPTCHA. Nice sweater, dude. Thank you. This was actually my late uncle's sweater. When he passed away, we all got to go to his house and take what we wanted, and I was always such a fan of the sweaters he wore, especially when I was younger, that I picked up a few of them, and it happens to be cool, or not cool, cold, up where I am in New England today, and I'm trying to save money on the heat, so I am wearing a sweater. Thank you, I appreciate that. My parents are nuts. Yeah, a lot of parents are nuts. There's are your parents Gen X or are your parents boomers? It is 130 plus. Must mean 130. Boomers. Okay, mine too. Yeah. Making sure they're crazy. 131. Okay, thank you, my friend. I'll be here about another 10-15 minutes if anybody has any questions, and then I need to turbo slam some lunch. If you are interested in a one-on-one session with me, whether you have an addicted boyfriend or husband, whether you or girlfriend or wife, whether you are a man or woman who's addicted, or you have relationship issues, visit the front page of my profile. Up in the links, one of the links is for Calendly, and click on that, and you'll learn the information you are looking for when it comes to being able to meet with me. Pagey Baby says, hi, how do I tell my man that he may be addicted? We've been dealing with this for about 3.5 years. Well, it's probably a lot longer for him, actually. A simple conversation. I assume you don't want him to use this, whether it has to do with the fact that you are morally opposed, or whether the fact that you're really worried about his mind. You're worried about his health. And it may be both. He may need to talk to somebody. He may need to see statistics. He may need to have you set some boundaries in place. I'll tell you, Paigey, I speak with several women a week who are in your situation. It helps if I can learn a lot of specifics about you. If I can learn specifics about him, then we can come up with a strategy for talking to him. I would also tell you that a lot of wives and girlfriends do show their partners my videos, or do show them replays of my lives. That often will show a guy that I'm not a therapist with a white jacket and a notepad going, I'm a dude who went through this just like he did. I'm a dude who learned a hell of a lot about it afterwards. I have, I've written 4 books. I have been a coach for 5 years. But I'm a very different kind of guy, as you can probably tell at this point. A lot of people like the accountability, a lot of people that I hold them to, a lot of people like that I don't coddle them like they're little babies, that we talk about the science, we talk about, real life strategies. So if I can help you out in any way, please let me know. You also say you have past trauma with corn addicts. Well, that's probably something that you need to work on, Paigey. It's not fair. I'm sure you didn't put up a sign and walk through the mall looking for a porn addict to be my boyfriend. But you've had to deal with it. And it has, you say you have past trauma, it has affected you. And odds are the betrayal trauma you have felt from the corn addicts is an extension of earlier childhood trauma that you need to deal with. What's interesting is, like I tell everybody, I deal with porn addicts and I deal with partners experiencing betrayal trauma. Once you get the porn addict to control their behavior with the adult material, whether I'm dealing with them or I'm dealing with someone with betrayal trauma, it becomes all about trauma. You have to get to the core of this stuff, because this trauma has played with you in life. It has shaped you in life. I think that, you probably need to dig into it just as much as he needs to dig into it. It sounds like you're 2 traumatic people living with each other, and traumatized people don't heal each other. Traumatized people traumatize each other further. I'm sorry I didn't answer your question. I never saw your question. And, Oth told you. Good. Thank you, Oth. Turbo Slam Some Lunch is a great t-shirt idea. Well, copyright or whatever. It's my idea. If you want to make them, we'll split the money. Parents didn't even bother turning it off. Wow. But I guess in some ways they probably, back then maybe they didn't recognize it was bad for you. I don't want to excuse them, because, my parents didn't watch porn in front of me. I'm going to guess my dad probably had a magazine hiding somewhere or something. But it was not in front of me. Or consultation. What do you mean, Hanru? What do you mean by concentration? What is betrayal trauma? Good question, Powder. I'm glad you asked. Betrayal trauma is the physical and mental reaction that a partner has when they learn their partner is using pornography. And the big linchpin in this is not just the using pornography, it is actually the lying about it. Usually in a relationship where I deal with someone with betrayal trauma, there is an agreement between the two parties that pornography will not be part of their relationship. And then, and most often this is the guy, goes off and uses anyway. Eventually the wife, the girlfriend, finds out. And it is a traumatic experience finding out that somebody has some sort of addiction, and it's traumatic that you've been lied to for so long. How does it manifest? Well, with betrayal trauma sufferers, usually with the area of porn addiction, usually they wonder if they're not pretty enough. Usually they wonder if they won't, if they're not good enough in bed. Once they get through that stage, they get through the stage of, well, he's lied to me. He's lied to me for a long time. How can I trust anything he's ever told me since he was so good at lying to me? How can I ever trust anything he's going to say moving forward since he's such a good liar? It's a tough place to be. And then the biggest question, or not biggest, but the third stage is, what do I do now? If you've been dating someone for 3 weeks, it's easy to walk away. If you've been married for 15 years, you've got a couple kids, a mortgage, etc., your lives are very enmeshed, it's not as easy to walk away. Maybe that's not the right choice. But that's the stuff that we figure out. Hanru says, do you do one-on-one consultation or chats? Yes, absolutely. I work with people one-on-one. That's what I spend most of my days doing. And the vast, vast majority are people I've met through TikTok. And if you're interested in learning more information about having a session with me, you can go to my front page and you can click on the links. And one of the links says Calendly. Click on that. Click on First Time Client. You'll learn all the information you need if you want to meet with me. And as I mentioned earlier, we're getting into a slow part of year for the next 2 weeks, so plenty of time to pick from. Kevin says, I don't know where my addiction stems from. I certainly understand that. I didn't either. It took me probably about 5-6 weeks to start to understand it, and I discovered other trauma along the way. You need to talk to somebody who is experienced in this stuff. That's why I tell people, by yourself, you're probably not going to figure this out. You can stop using, but you need to know how it started. And that's really what I do. That's what I do in my coaching. Oth says, I wonder if I have some sort of restriction on me or something that won't let me chat. Like with other people? That's weird. But hey, you know what, Oth? If you got restricted, welcome to the club. Paigey says, yes, all of what you've just said hit home so hard. Good. So what are you going to do about it now? What are you going to do about it now? That's always my biggest question. You've uncovered the issue. You know there are ways to deal with the issue. You know people understand the issue. Now are you willing to get the help? You're welcome, Hanru. You're welcome very much. No, nothing ever goes through for me. I don't know why, but I'm going to be wrapping this up in a minute anyway. Because like I said, I have to go do that podcast, and I think I have 2 sessions this afternoon, so maybe I'll be back later tonight. Probably not, but if you're not following me, please do, because that will give you access to my videos much more frequently, and it will also let you know when I am going live if you're enjoying this. Also want to urge you to check out my YouTube page. Very simply, you can just find me at That Corn Coach, and you can look at thatcorncoach.com. I have just opened accounts on Blue Sky, on Lemonade, and on Clapper. This is in preparation in case TikTok goes away. I will probably be doing, if TikTok goes away, I will be doing my lives on YouTube, I believe. Hopefully it doesn't go away. Hopefully it doesn't go away. I'm seeing your comments off. I don't know if there's just something going on that you don't see them, because obviously I can answer you. Therese T88, appreciate your knowledge. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a lot of knowledge, both on the job knowledge, being an addict, and then doing the research so I could write my books, doing the research so I could speak, which I did a lot of before the pandemic. But then during the pandemic, I switched gears to become a coach, and I love being a coach. I love helping people one-on-one more than anything else I've ever done in my life. I was a journalist. I managed a call center. I was a publisher. I was a city councilor. I ran a film festival. More than anything else, I really, really love doing this on a one-on-one basis. I've sent probably 10 more this live alone with no success. I wonder why. Are you saying dirty words off? Are you using your schoolyard language and not your church language? I'm kidding. I don't know. No, I'm not. Okay. Yeah, I don't know off. You know me. I have no idea how TikTok works. I just use it. I see all these full-time content creators and these people who go live, and all they're doing is marble racing, or all they're doing is trying to sell you stuff, and I don't get how that side of TikTok works at all. All right, it is about time for me to call it an afternoon. I want to thank those of you who are here. I appreciate you all being here. If you need anything, I'm not a difficult guy to get in touch with. Again, thank you very much. We will talk again soon. If you're not following me, here's your last 5-second chance to. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, you're late. Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.